Hi everybody! I wanted to share with you today about an article that I was recently reading, and it was about communist China under the dictator Mao, and it talked about how when he was creating this oppressive communist environment for the people, one of the things that he did, one of the techniques that he did was that he encouraged people to look at themselves and introspect and self-criticize. And he would tell them, these are the things that you're doing that are destructive to you and destructive to our country and destructive to our economy or whatever it was. And he would get the people to introspect and self-criticize and then repent and work harder and try to do things differently. And I thought that, wow, this is probably what's happening in some of your homes. And so I wanted to talk about that and talk about the relationship between communist China and maybe what's happening in your home. I know that this is something that happened in our home, is that my husband would tell me things that I needed to work on. So maybe he would say, you know, you're disrespectful, or you're too critical, or, you know, what you said, that was really arrogant, or you're selfish. And those were things where I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be accused of being those things. And so I wanted to take responsibility for myself. So I would introspect and I would say, okay, yeah, I could see that. I could see where you're coming from with that. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna work on that. And I did. I worked really hard on that. And the harder that I worked on it, the more things that he found to criticize and the more ways that he was able to keep me under his thumb. Those were techniques that he was using so that he didn't have to look at himself or look at what I was bringing forth that he was calling criticism. That was actually an opportunity for him to make improvements, become a better person, be a better parent, or work together better with me, or whatever it might have been. He saw that as criticism and chose to blame me for bringing that to his attention, rather than saying, oh, this is something I should work on. So it was very one-sided. Like you can see, he was always telling me the things that I needed to work on, but if I had any suggestions for him, that didn't fly. And so that is the way that he was able to keep himself in this position of power, where I was in this position of submission all the time. And our house was very much like a communist regime, very much like a communist government. And he was the dictator, and I was the little people, just trying to make everything perfect, make things the way that he wanted them to be, so that we would have a happy household. And so I just wanted to share that with you, because maybe that's something that is happening in your home too. And it's good to self-reflect. I'm not saying don't do that. It's good to self-reflect. It's good to be somewhat self-critical and say, these are some things that I need to work on. And you know that you have to take responsibility for things. Those are all good. But if it doesn't work both ways, then it isn't mutual. So if he isn't doing it as well, if you are not allowed to offer suggestions to him, or if your perspective isn't honored, then it's not a mutual relationship anymore, and that's not a marriage. A marriage is where two people are working together and growing together, and if that isn't happening, then that's not a mutual marriage. And so you're not going to be able to make that mutual by continuing to self-reflect and self-criticize and take responsibility if he isn't doing the same. So I hope that provides you with some insight today. I hope you find that helpful, and we'll see you next time.